And to talk about this, we welcome entrepreneur Mr. Wempi Dr. Koto here. Hello, sir, and welcome.
Hello. Hi, Robert. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good, excellent.
Now, straight into the questions. Jack Ma, with this collaboration with us, how do you see this improving our economy actually on the e-commerce sector?
This could extremely improve our economy. And I'm a very big fan, but also a proponent of getting foreign talent and foreign experts, as well as people who have really accomplished their missions in life to come and contribute to Indonesia, regardless of their nationality. The ways that he can absolutely improve the ecosystem, firstly, through simply inspiring the whole startup scene and the whole digital scene. That's one way that he can do it from a very soft standpoint. The next thing also is that he can actually start to engineer and re-engineer the government's digital policies. And that's specifically what he's here for, to start to help the government engineer policies. And there's a lot of debate. It's quite heated right now, is that should we be having a Chinese national coming into Indonesia to influence the government? Can we not find people here in this country to do so? And so, yeah, it's actually starting a bit of a controversy.
Now, let's look at Alibaba themselves. They're doing B2B with Alibaba.com and B2C with Taobao. Now, Tokopedia and Bukalapak, how can they imitate their success in China in Indonesia, although it's a different climate here?
Yeah, well, it's a completely different climate. And what the value of foreign talent is that we can exchange, success transfer, exchange learnings. And I'm sure that if William Tanuwijaya, who is the CEO of Tokopedia, as well as Ahmad Zaki of Bukalapak and all the other ones from Matahari Mall and Blibli, etc., if they sat down in a room and in a forum with Jack Ma and took off their competitors' hats and simply put on their ecosystem, entrepreneurship, learnings hats, then I'm sure that, there's so much room for all these companies to grow, all of these startups. There's tremendous growth. There's the current middle class in Indonesia is sitting at 88 million people, right? Soon it's going to hit about 140 million people, and they need services. And one of the essences of a great economy is that there is a diverse number of players. There's never a monopoly, there's never an oligopoly, but there are many companies, whether they're startups or whether they're big companies, providing a particular service to a nation or an ecosystem. So we need that variety.
Now, what about regulations? Do you see a deregulation healthy, and are incentives and tax ease for these e-commerce, is that a good idea?
Deregulation, I'm a huge proponent for deregulation, and in fact the government should try and deregulate as much as they can. Allow free economics, allow laissez-faire, supply and demand to work for themselves. Yes, government should be, whether it comes to like taxation, as well as just fair play and fair competition, these are important roles of government, right? But when it comes to competition, it should be fair play. Whoever gets the highest investments, potentially the companies that are going to scale more. The ones that perform more are the ones that are going to get a lot more attention. The ones that you don't are the ones that are going to drop off. But, the government should really start to look at startups and digital technology as a valuable instrument of change, rather than as an area to sort of be scared of and start to want to regulate and not know what to do.
Aside from Jack Ma, who else do you see that's perfect as an advisor for our...
we could get a lot of advisors. And, whether it's like Mark Zuckerberg, whether it's Jack Ma, whether it's Bill Gates, whether it's all these other amazing digital leaders around the world, we should be wanting and welcoming them to come and contribute to the ecosystem. And I think it's caused a bit of a scuffle. And I don't want to allude to any like xenophobia or anything like that. But what I do want to allude to is the fact that, okay, why is Jack Ma becoming an advisor to Indonesia causing a bit of a scuffle? But if Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, right, was to be offered an advisory role to Indonesia, we'd be like ecstatic. We'd be like, oh, Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates. But why is it that Jack Ma is being offered an advisory role that then this scuffle starts happening? And I am a believer that talent can come from everywhere. And we need talent to come from everywhere to really build our ecosystem here in Indonesia. So regardless of his nationality, I am a huge proponent and fan of bringing him here as an advisor.
What's your thoughts on the conflict of interest for Jack Ma? We know that Lazada, they own a majority share of Lazada, and they do operate here. Now, how do you see that, and does that hurt local startup companies here?
Right. There's always going to be a potential for conflict of interest. As long as Jack Ma is briefed from the start, right, that he's here to help engineer and guide policies, but ultimately, at the end of the day, this is our house. This house belongs to Indonesia, Indonesians, the president, the ministers. It belongs to us. It doesn't belong to Jack Ma. So ultimately, we are the ones who have a say in what goes ahead and what doesn't go ahead. And look, let's get down to business. And the very fact is that Jack Ma is a capitalist, right? Just like all entrepreneurs around the world, we're all capitalists, right? So we only do things out of our own self-interest. Yeah, we do it for the greater good, we do it for social, we do it for all these different other great means, right? But above all, we do it for our own greater good. With Jack coming here, sure, he's certainly, why would he want to waste his time in Indonesia if it's not going to add value to Alibaba? So certainly he has an agenda. That agenda needs to be backed by a very strict government, credo or push to ensure that he's quite impartial. And that's why we need a steering committee of not only foreign advisors, but also local and national advisors too, to balance out what the opinions are going to be and what ultimately the direction is going to be.
Now, I'm curious about payment systems like Alipay.
Yep.
We have here, I think Bukalapak has Dompetku or something like that. Now, how do you see that happening? In China, as we know, they can pay for things using WeChat, which is integrated in their messenger app. Now, how do you see that happening here, and is it going to be a long time?
Well, there's actually movements already starting to, there are technological movements there too, but we don't have a national platform for messaging that is our own. Indonesians are on WhatsApp, right? Or they're on text, or we're on, Line and etc. Right? Yeah. So we don't have our own particular platform. So we're going to have to very much rely on foreign platforms as our national or our international chat platforms. But, I think when it comes to technology, when it comes to people like Jack Ma coming here to Indonesia, it can only be greater good because his technology, he's going to have to roll it out here in Indonesia. Then we're going to start the process of cloning, right? And then after that, we're going to start the process of innovating also. So, we're a long way off from there because Silicon Valley is way ahead of us, right? And we don't have that local platform that is so mass that people use.
Now, before we go, last question. What do you think about BBM? We know that they're trying to start something in Indonesia. And do you see that as a potential for sort of a WeChat ecosystem going on for payment systems?
Like years ago, maybe about 10 or so odd years ago, or 15 years ago, I used to work on the Samsung business. And I also worked on the Nokia business, during its, heyday.
Okay.
Now, I kind of think that BBM has had its time, right? And BlackBerry has passed its cycle of life, but we never know. It only takes one particular launch of one product to turn a company around. So I'm not going to say this is the death knell, the death of BlackBerry or BBM, etc. But I really believe that the world has moved on and progressed from there. We can take a step back, but I don't believe that that's going to make a huge impact.
All right, Mr. Wempe, last question actually. What about the short-term process of him being here, Mr. Ma being here? In the short term, what should he get done that's crucial to fix, not to fix, to boost e-commerce in Indonesia?
I think the first thing that Jack needs to do is just come to Indonesia and listen. Right? Listen to the chatter that's happening. Read, research, and understand the ecosystem. So don't come here with guns a-blazing and saying, okay, well, this is how we do it in China, and and try and enforce it here in Indonesia. It doesn't work like that here. He'll need to really understand and no matter how great he is as an entrepreneur, and he knows the China ecosystem, greater than anybody else, right? But when he comes to India, he's really got to understand and listen first. Then, based on his listening, then start to, really to softly engineer the government. It cannot be hard. In Indonesia, right, and I've worked with government, you cannot push. It's all very soft selling of ideas. It's a soft selling mission. And I believe that if Jack comes with that approach, he's very much well on his way to accomplishing what he needs to on a Alibaba front, as well as on on a macro Indonesian relational front. But I believe that there's enough room and enough space for a lot of people to come into that committee, for not Jack Ma to be the only one, but for there to be national and local ones to contribute to the digital future of Indonesia.
All right, Mr. Rempi, thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robert. Cheers.